go with it. Okay, folks, we are now recording.
Okay, just for the purposes of the audience, we record all our public meetings and they're available thereafter on YouTube. So the first item on the agenda is LN 001225. And this is the chairman's request that all mobile devices are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. And just for the purposes of fire evacuation to those members of the public who have not been here, we either go right the way down and outside that door, or we have the doors to the left and to the right, and we meet in the car park, which is the muster point, to make sure that everybody is there. So that is all I have to say at this moment. So I now hand over to the clerk for NN 002225.
Excellent. Okay, so now we need to vote in a chair. So who would you like to stand in as chair?
So I'd like to nominate Joanna as chair.
Thanks for second.
Say again?
Thanks for second.
You'll second that.
Yeah.
Anybody else like to stand?
I would like to propose that Derek continues for another year.
Chair,
Chairman, yeah,
Yes, I'm
chair of this committee.
what does Derek know? I mean, I agree.
So Derek's currently the chair, or has been the chair, and now looking for the new chair.
Yeah.
Do you understand, Derek?
I'm more than happy for others to put their name forward, so I don't have any issues with that. Because I can't, it's a lot to do, chair of the council and chair of the.
Yeah. Probably is, yeah.
Although I'm more than happy to still attend meetings and etc. Be part of this meeting. So.
Anybody else? No. So all in favour? Unanimous.
Thank you. I would now like to hand over to the councillor.
John, so in our environment, let's think through a note. But in the future, those who will be done by person,
For the council.
yeah. So I said, I actually went across and what are the answers? Which is some advantage for senior, put their hand, because, you know, you got something on you, they can stand on your word. It's so, that's a button, so I'm going to have.
All things are the all things is a great show.
Yeah.
Yes. All papers.
Thank you very much. So let's move to Bill 3, 2025, and that is to remind the board that the council permits the filming and recording and photography of its public meetings. By attending the meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and recorded unless you notify clerk in advance that you do not wish to be. All present to be asked if they have any intention of recording, filming, or for part of the meeting. All right, so apologies for absence and declarations of interest. And apologies for absence?
Yeah, councillor Tony.
That's the
Thank you. I'd like to create it in number LM 006 2025 as I am the chairman of London Bray Sports Club, who obviously have the lease the field of the Bray Parish, and part of the not part of the proposal really comes from that particular role that I have. I would like to ask your permission to be able to talk about this, because I can bring some expertise and also some context, but I will obviously not vote.
Okay, any other questions of interest? No.
No.
So OM 005, 2025, admission of the public. So in accordance with Public Lobbies Act 1960, we have to resolve whether to exclude members of the public from all part of the meeting. And there is part two of the meeting. Do we need to
No.
vote?
Oh, yes.
We did.
Yeah, we just do the minutes.
We need to vote.
I'm led to believe that the actual way of processing that is at the time. So this was a step that was adopted by a local clerk, but it was
But not.
not.
No, okay. So we are now moving to LN 006, 2025, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday, 12th of March, 2025. And I have to ask if everyone read the minutes and they are agreeing with them. Page 1, any comments?
I would just like to say that I'm abstaining because I wasn't at the meeting.
Yes, okay. And page 2, any no comments? Can I sign the minutes then?
I'd have to say that on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
There were 2 abstentions. Is that right? Nobody else in favour?
Anything happening with the agenda? No, not yet. Because it says, oh no, and now it's LM 007, 2025, public forum. We are allowing 3 minutes for each member of the public. If anyone would like to speak, this is the time. Anyone would like to speak? No, thank you. So, on the agenda, LM 008 says election of the last annual chairman.
Yeah.
And then to approve the minutes of the meeting. So
Yeah.
let's move on. To receive the play area reports from December to March. And I hope everyone has a chance to see those.
Are we all online?
Yes. We've actually got mine, I put in mine as well.
Yeah, we've got half check to make.
That's Richard Jones.
Okay, so do we have any comments and questions? I think we vote to receive those or?
No.
Okay. So if there are no questions and no comments, let's move on. And now it's LM011, Deputy Clerk review.
So, I'd like to invite the chair to serve the parish, at a mutually convenient time so we can look at the different areas there. LM34, so the deputy clerk qualified with the chair that I think what Coolbert works would only happen when the round had actually finished. The clerk arranged for a ditch presentation at the annual inspection meeting, and then today we'll have an email from Douglas Price indicating that the works will be done 27th to the 1st of August, so that's in hand. And then 26, I wrote to the clerk wrote to the Lions on the 4th of April, thanking them for their kind offer of sponsorship to replace the trees and asking if they would like to sponsor other trees, like the tree guidance, and that's going to their committee. Councillor Wilson is going to suggest a couple of dates to go and visit Dennis.
So that could still be arranged.
Yes, yes.
Hollywood Fair went well, probably. The parking on Gate Lane needs a bit more promotion, and there was a casual parking, let's put it that, around the place, but it'd be good to try and encourage people to go to Gate Lane in future. The tennis courts have been sprayed and killed with preventative weed killer. The clerk was already ready to manage the gap. Fifield Inn is concerned about the ditch and it being filled with unnecessary waste. This is being dealt with by Ben Franklin at RBWF to process that.
Just so you are aware, that is, as a Valparian, is that the word?
Yes, yeah.
Right, it means basically that belongs to the landowner and the landowner has the duty to clear it. So that's why we're RBWN will write to the landowners and tell them they'll clear it. If they don't clear it, they'll clear it and then they'll charge them.
Springfield, so Richard has done a little bit of work down at Springfield. Aysgarth and Springfield had a couple of anti-springy items replaced. The bins have been replaced on what we call green. We've got the old bins sitting here, so we've invited us to all if they'd like to use them, as flower planters or something. If they don't want them, then we can find an alternative use somewhere. The monthly allotment inspections have been tasked to our Richard at RJ Scenic Landscapes, with reports coming back to the BBC. In the short term, occasionally the new assistant plant plans have been. Similarly with the air quality management tubes. Katie and I are interested to talk about the trees at St Martin's Church tomorrow. Just an advisory, the new clerk expects reasons for councillors making apologies, saying, just quick apologies, not anymore. We need to just add something in to just add something on. Point of interest, at the extraordinary meeting, seemed to be an awful lot of people didn't turn up last minute or take apologies last minute. Had Leo not turned up on that day and saved the day, I would be now acting clerk. So that's that. That's my report.
Madam Chairman, proves of John. That is about the culvert and the Ascot Road. Are they going to take about trees away?
They've done it already,
Yeah.
They've done it already,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Is it all right?
Yeah, it's a bit bare, but actually it needed to be cleared, to be fair. There were a lot of saplings there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda is LMO 12/2025, review of the task list. And I will ask members if they want to go one by one or if they want to go with word by word. Okay, so do we start in Bray? Okay, are there any comments regarding tasks in Bray from members? Can I have a comment? I would like to ask, when are those items going to be advanced? Because they,
Which ones?
so it's very simple ones like moving the bench around. That's it on this list, but I think it's,
Right, well, the bench.
yeah, three. Yes. 1, 3,
Right, so it's got a rotting leg.
yes.
In there. But then there's an issue with the patio and the levels of the patio, so that needs fixing first. So those steps need to be addressed before that work can be done.
Yes, I'm just noting that it was reported in 2023, so.
Sorry, where was this bench? Were you?
So it's Jubilee Field, the playground.
Yeah.
Jubilee Field.
Oh,
with
okay.
one bench facing the playground and one bench facing the field. And
Yeah.
at some point decided to turn this other one around.
Oh, okay.
So the parents think that, to see their children. So, but it's on the list for
Yeah,
quite a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move to Hollyport. Are there any comments regarding Hollyport? Yes,
Yes, I've got a query. Hollyport Pond, it says here, RBWM responsible, so we're working with them to schedule works. RBWM not responsible, it's on Bray Parish land. So we're,
RBWM are responsible for the water system, the water network. So the issue is at the moment fixing the drainage.
yes,
Doing any remedial works that has already been discussed about adding extra weeds, adding extra, it's not weeds, but the reeds, to help protect it and reduce the rubbish getting in the pipe is one central thing. But the actual pipes themselves being cleaned is the responsibility of the borough. Because we sorted it out, we organised, we got a quote, we had the work lined up, I then spoke to the borough, they said, sorry chaps, that's ours. So what we're now doing, we're in a position where they were gonna get a quote. we will then contribute towards it, because we've got a budget towards it. That will then accelerate it through the borough's processes and mean that it gets done sooner rather than later.
Okay, so can you put rather than Hollyport Pond, actually what the work is? Because actually got a request to put a maintenance plan in for Hollyport Pond going forward. So, and Hollyport Pond is our responsibility, so it should be perhaps pipes, or something that we identify easily that says it's not actually the pond, it's the pipes running from it.
Good, I mean, it seems perfectly reasonable through you, Madam Chairman, that, you know, there's more clarity on that description, because the way it reads at the moment, it sounds as though RBWM is responsible for the pond.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not, it's the pipe network or the water pipe network or something along those.
Fair comment, if I could just add as well. These papers are sent out a week before. If you've got questions, you could raise them beforehand. I could then adjust the information and then it would come through here and it'd be very clear. Yeah, so if you see things that you've got questions about as the papers are released, ask the question. It saves time in the meeting.
Do we have a date or a target or any kind of
No.
indication?
As you know, we have a very good table lined up, crystal lined up. But no, I'm waiting on the borough. No choice. I have noticed them.
Can we expedite that in the borough, please?
And just one other thing, it says RBWM cast iron bins, they're not RBWM, they're Bray Parish Council bins, that the three of them, that two were replaced. Just be very clear, they RBWM empty them, but we own them.
As an asset.
On the same point, it says 2 bins replaced, 100% complete, but we noted that 2 bins replaced, one was not the one that should be
At the
replaced.
meeting where it was discussed,
Yeah.
there was talk of the budget and Councillor Neave said at that time, 2 bins would be fine. That's-
Yes, but specify which ones.
Therefore, those bins are being done. If
Yes.
you would like more, if you would like the other bin replaced, then I suggest that, you know, we put that forward and we just say, yes, we'd like that bin replaced.
Let's
And
put
we go
that forward, because the one that was not replaced is exactly the one overflows, that overflows absolutely.
If you remember at the main council meeting where it was discussed, actually did ask for 3. But because there was some concern about the cost of it, which actually I noticed is a lot less.
Well, this report, yes.
So, there is budget within what was quoted.
So let's replace that, let's try to replace the 3rd one. And,
That's great, thank you.
try to put on the green and comments from members.
Madam Chairman, I'm
Yes.
still on holiday.
Oh, right, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, if we can go back a step. I think what I'd like is total clarity. Since that project is 100% complete, we addressed it, we did what was asked for, it was sorted. If we can create if we can vote on having a new line, that would make sense. wouldn't it?
Okay, so, I need a proposal and second therefore another line to replace, so I have councillor Neave proposal, councillor Wilson, seconder.
And to make sure it's noted, it's Bray Parish Council, not RBW.
Yes, and to replace the 3rd being on Hollyport Green. Who is in favour?
It's also worth saying that, quite a lot of things around the parish and the borough are overflowing at the moment. And in fact, the Royal Borough sent out a communication to this parish saying, make sure you empty your bins, boys, because people are moaning about. And it's their bins that are overflowing.
Right, so,
Just use report it.
councillor Wolf.
That going to that thing in Hollywood. With the missing damaged bollards.
Yeah.
Yes,
I noticed that there's some cast iron bollard somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah, that's the Thames water.
What is?
Yeah, that's the measuring device for Thames water there. They're measuring the water flow in the network.
Oh, good.
Now, it has a Thames water logo on it.
Yeah.
So I asked Thames Water, did they get permission for this? The response so far has been, that it was Southern Water that put them in. So I think they're doing that. Yeah, exactly. So I'm still,
I think the thing is, it was put in without permission, so perhaps put it out to both of them saying, you need to remove
No,
this.
I don't think it works like that. I think on lots of things they just have permission to do stuff because.
No, they don't. They don't.
Well, I'm asking the council, I'm asking the utilities when they got the permission, and I'll go through that process.
Okay. They don't always, the whole agreement would be one thing.
Thanks for that. There was another bit,
Yeah, it's also got a lightning flash on it, which indicates that there's an.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I would imagine that's, well, if they're monitoring, it's got to have some sort of. Isn't it? Is it not? I don't know.
Well, it hasn't dug up the green, it's probably any wires on it. I wonder.
the other thing mentioned was just that we need 2 new posts. Where,
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm getting quotes from you.
where are they going to go bus?
It's Panel Road.
Yeah,
So it's essentially that area there. There's 2 that damaged. It is related.
Oh.
So it's in hand.
thank you.
So, if there are no other comments and questions regarding Holybold, let's move to 5 River Oakley Green. Any comments? That's okay. And then, general Bray Parish. There is 61 lamp posts. It's refurbishment. Yes, absolutely.
I had on the task list, we painting of the 2 lampposts on Hollywood Green, because they're now red rather than black. And that was, I've been on there 3 years. So just would like an update, because if we don't get them done next couple of months, it's going to be next year. Just wondered where we are with.
Where we're at is that the original contractors let us down. So although it's agreed and the work's agreed, the chap that was doing it decided he wanted to retire, so with all the extra hassle, health and safety and claims. So that's my understanding. He stood down. We put out for other contractors to step forward. 2 of them just wanted to install brand new lampposts at the cost of £3,500 each, take that on. I went back and said, look, what we want are the history to be respected, and we want to go through a process. If we can't go to asbestos or whatever the reasons are, then we'll accept that, but we want to make sure as best as we can, we are looking at keeping as many of those traditional ones as possible. We've employed a contractor. They're coming to see me next. They've just finished the survey. They come in to see me next week, and we're going to go through it. We're going to go through each one of those lampposts, discuss, work out a schedule of works for those posts. Now, if you know a particular post that you're specifically concerned with, because I had one email from the resident about a specific post. If the specific post that you are concerned about, send me that, and then we can prioritise those. Yeah.
Okay, so for 2 on Hollywood
Send
Green,
me that.
I will send it, but I'm saying the 2 on Hollywood Green have been on the task list for years, and they are fairly new. They're only about 5 or 6 years old, aren't they, the ones on Hollywood Green? One near you and one right opposite Hollywood Street. Those 2 lampposts, they're fairly new. They just need painting.
So my first task after being elected as a councillor was to go around Bray and make a list and judge every single lamppost. So I think we should refer back to, we all did it. It's done from every single village. We have to go back to that list, because we already did it.
No, we had professional.
And this is
This
a
one,
professional.
yeah. So we had that. That was given to the new guys.
Yeah.
They've gone through that and they've added their own information, etc., etc.
Yes.
And that's what we're going through next week. There's some more updates because that only had a year left on its license.
Yes.
Right? So we have to be doing it again anyway.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's all. It's all.
So sorry, very sorry, very quickly. So can we have an update for the next meeting on that, please?
So
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Maybe I'm a bit hard of hearing. Yeah.
I can speak louder. Speak up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes. I was talking about paintings and replacing.
No.
So hold, there's a number of aspects. There's the safety aspect, can they stand up? And then there's, are they working?
Yeah,
Then there's, can we change the electrics or do we have to significantly change them?
yeah.
You know, can we change component parts, replace parts? Do they need painted? There's a bunch of things that need to be addressed and we're going to go through.
I mean, it's not so very long ago to get a firm up in the north of England. To make these things out of the old style and not, they call it, you rely.
LEDs,
Yeah, that's an LED. Well, they took that in London, they were going
but
to
gas lines in London still, yeah.
anyway,
Okay. Let's move on.
that's not right. Still
Yes,
destroying the scene.
we don't want to replace it. We don't have to. So next on the agenda, 11/013, 2025, and it says planters regulars.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, nice. So, can anybody shine any light, please? So we've got, sorry, I should be taking over this.
Yes, it is.
You asked me about this and you said there wasn't enough information, but that information you've got, we need to talk around the table.
Did someone vote to the office?
Yes. So a resident emailed the office concerned that the planters have been taken off and put on the green. But then they've not been replaced. So
Okay,
they've been left.
okay, so I did ask for more details from you, and then I went around the village and I know what's going on basically. So there is a resident living in the central village who remembers a planter. Now there is another resident living in central village who claimed that it was this person's planter and it was wheeled to her back garden at her request. This is where planter went missing. The planters on the causeway were installed there on purpose. They are actually somehow put to the ground so they don't fall. And they were there always. They have never been moved. This is not a planter being moved from one place to another. And if you actually try to move them nowadays, they will just completely fall apart. So
What are they made of, do you know?
it's just wooden barrels. So at this stage, when we even attempt to touch them, I'm planting those planters on the causeway.
And what happened in the past? Was there some particular,
There was
people who did it or what?
So there was one wooden planter. This is what I've been told by Councillor, previous Councillor Chris Graham, who is taking care of all the plants sort of on the voluntary basis in the village. And he said in the past there was a lady who to help with Britain and Bloom, Bray and Bloom. She put out a planter with a tree, but she made it very clear to everyone that no one is to touch that tree. She's the only one allowed to water it, cut it, maintain it. And then one day she decided she wants it back in her back garden. And it was done. And now she seemed to be following everyone to say my tree is gone. So we do not really know how to politely address it. Maybe, I know she messaged various people in the village.
So you know who this is? I mean,
Oh,
you
we know,
I just want to know.
I didn't name that lady, but I think we know what's going on.
Yes.
And no planters were moved in the last, I was told 10 years. There were some planters replaced recently, but no planter moved location.
I haven't waited that long. No.
Could I suggest that when we look to locate the lady, certainly just ask her what would make her?
We are, I think that's a good solution, but I'm just to reassure that no one cares for the planters.
No. Just something. It's a
Yes.
suggestion.
Yes.
You can manage that?
We can manage it together.
Do the plants, in theory, belong to Bray Parish Council? Did we pay for originally?
No, planters in theory belong to Bray, a councillor committee who did take care of Bray in the past.
Yes.
And now, now we all seem to have our planters in the village.
Yeah.
Councillor Parkinson was asked to plant some, I am asked to plant some, and we do, there is a organised scheme every year, and we do get instructions, but
They still exist, do they?
they still exist, they're there. It's the way of trying to dismantle them to maybe in the future.
Okay, that's very
They better still be there. We've given them a grant of.
Yeah.
Business up to.
I would think that's a very good idea, not to my knowledge, but that's a good idea to do this. Anyway, I'll meet with you in the office and we can
Thanks.
find a good response that would like.
And to be very clear, and I don't want to sound a script, if we do something, it needs to be her that maintains it.
Yeah.
Because as we know with anything, it's not the buying, it's how it gets maintained, that is the challenge, especially when it's hot like this.
Yes.
So I think it's a good idea to
Yes.
offer something, but she would need to maintain it, i.e. water it.
Yes. Yes. Right, so there is no vote on this, well, let's do something, respond kindly. Okay, LMO 14, play equipment, ice park. Any questions? Would you like to give us some more details? Because I do actually. I'm
Well,
not sure. About.
yeah, the platforms, so these, on the actual time frame, there's two flat platforms, they're metal plates, that have a really long, to stop people sliding, seemingly according to the experts, they're of some warning.
Okay.
So in order to replace them, two of them will cost £2,747.40.
Okay.
And then matting also needs retention, and that's another £1,600.
And do we have any votes of that?
We go through the organisation for these things, because that's the way it works, because then they're experts, they install it, they maintain it, they monitor it, they look after it, and then that all works. So it's all in place, all of the people we deal with, we should mind saying, I think.
No, it doesn't actually say anything. Councillor Cox.
Just out of interest, given use with that, how long was that installed? When was that being installed for?
My understanding it's been quite a few years on that front. Because the clerk, just before she left, she suggested that we paint it to make it sparkly like the one at Springfield. That's been painted and looks newer. Yeah, and so it will add to it if we do that.
So it's just against this program is part of that inspection list.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so following that inspection, we have that,
They
and
made a recommendation.
the recommendations sent back to the company.
Yeah.
Purely because it's in terms of liability, there's no people
Yes.
put it in. Okay, yeah.
I mean, we have the option to start looking at other pieces of equipment. I mean, you can buy a train like this for £4,000, or you can get a swing that would have people, something for these things, who were disabled, you know, who could make benefit from that. They're much cheaper, like £500. So we should perhaps start thinking about that. When if we walk around the playgrounds, we can discuss that. And then bring something to the next meeting in relation to how we might improve accessibility of the equipment, because obviously over time, people's expectations change, don't they? And then-
Councillor Robinson, and then Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just the point about this, replacing the platforms itself. I mean, I didn't see on the inspection reports anything highlighted in red.
I think it's previously done, this is previously done. So not the new report. But it was in previous, this is stuff that's been in
I mean, that was where it was coming from, because obviously if it was marked as a red festival mark,
Yes.
it's something that all zones out anyway. But
I don't think there's any rents.
I understand. No,
April was the close.
If it was a rate at some point, we haven't
It
been done. It should still be a rate, shouldn't it?
yes.
It's not.
It's difficult to sit, sorry,
You go.
Sorry, sorry.
I'm just querying that flat from
Yes,
2007, I've seen that.
this is why I'm asking for actual invoices. I would like to see the documents. Councillor Park.
So, the problem with these pictures is they're very generic. And if we're going to make a decision, we're going to need more detailed pictures of the actual
Thank you.
damage. I mean, so literally, Abbott's a lovely little place to have a play. But it doesn't show you that that platform is replaced, nor does it show, it's like, if I looked at that, I thought that was nice.
In the past, we voted on spending, we didn't get invoices, so what, I would like to.
Invoices come out of the works being done, so it's
Quotations, sorry.
So what we have, quotation for playground repairs and 14th grade, some of which have been done and some of which is in the system, and hence the reason for just flagging the £1,106 and 595. Can't see the big platforms on here.
Okay.
It's,
Do we feel we need?
I just think I would just make a mile where you could turn around to me and say, well, go and look for it for yourself, but the reality is, if I was trying to make a decision, spending that kind of money.
Yes,
I would like to see detailed photographs of exactly what damage there is, because, you know, anyone can say that, well, you know, it's going to cost too, well, ultimately, well, how about if they're showing me a joint that's going to be rusted through.
But none of it's red, none of it's red.
No.
Usually what we do, these items here on this list.
Yeah.
Anything that's red are the ones we automatically do. It's not on here.
And if it's been on a previous list.
It's done. It should be.
So,
it should be on the.
alright, so.
No, I think it's just.
Also, for our financial regulations, that amount of money should have to recall. Let's defer this item. I'm proposing to defer this item until next meeting until we have more information.
Yeah.
Do I have a second there? Okay, and then
Everybody.
Victoria?
Yeah.
Okay,
What we could do, Chair, is invite the organisation that manages the process up to come in and explain what's the process.
we can do whatever that makes us confident that we know what we're doing. So,
No, what would you like?
no, the information needs to be shared with everyone, so everyone
Absolutely. So invite them to come to the committee, present to the committee about the process that they go through, so we can understand what that process is.
But it's very clear. It's very clear.
It is,
It's a suggestion.
yes,
So you inspect these things every month.
yes,
Find out when they come in. Go around them.
yes, I'll go with them, and anyone who would like to join me. Open interest. Okay, so next one on the agenda is LMO 15, Longsdale Way, and we are supposed to also vote on it, just for everyone's information, and this is what we got. Okay, so, yes, Councillor Wilson.
Just standing from small place, because the aerial photograph does highlight where my house is. Although I'm not near there, maybe one of you too. Yeah, it's my house. I would like to say a few words, but obviously I can't because my house is positioned on there in the aerial photo, so.
No. Do you have any interest in that?
No, I don't have any interest in it.
The house is in the big photo.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that it used to be that if your picture of your house was on the photo, then you had to be there.
Well, if you zoom out enough, we all have our houses on the picture at some point, so.
Yeah.
So it's.
So, yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I would benefit from someone who has a better take on this. So if Derek can.
So, all right, so we,
From the office, Mark said to me, the bottom line in any of this type of stuff is, generally speaking, the parish council does not sell anything unless it's short of money.
okay,
Yeah.
can we add, right, councillor Needs and councillor Woods?
Just a very quick thing. There's no title deed saying that we own it.
Yes, this is very good.
To go down to the real basic stuff.
Yes,
Where's the title deed because this is a very pretty picture aerial shot. And I'm sure you'll keep it, Derek, for a nice picture of your house. There's no actual confirmation of what the area is and where it says it's very ancient land.
Okay.
The point of the agenda item is that the resident has asked they're interested. Are we interested in selling it? I would suggest those are the steps.
We need to know if we own it. We can start thinking if you want to sell it. Councillor Wilson.
Okay. My house is number 80 Springfield Park, so basically it's a bit of a distance away from Lonsdale Way. But I walk around this area, so that's why I wanted to say a few words.
All right,
Okay,
let's carry on.
as you walk down Lonsdale Way, it then goes round a bend, and the houses that you see from 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, you gain access from where the cars are parked in Lonsdale Way, and it opens up to this green area of open space. Now, when the estate was originally designed, it would have had some open space available for children playing, whatever, and it seemed quite a secure area, so it's not as if they can run straight out into the road or anything like that. So from that point of view, I mean, that would have been designed to have that open space. So how much of this open space is this person requiring? Is interested?
How much?
You see what the email basically.
No, I didn't see an email. I see a.
Yeah, you see a few lines. It says, I'm interested to purchase the land at the rear of my property, and I've also told it's owned by yourselves. Would the parish be interested in selling this piece of land to the 3 properties at the back on it, onto it can extend their rear garden? So I would assume that what he's talking about there is that 3 people living there looking to buy that whole piece of land. Now, if the question is, do we actually own the land? Then we need to look at that.
Okay, Councillor Walters.
Just to tell you, Mr. Blake,
Yeah,
if I can, we don't sell it.
yeah.
That's exactly.
If we've got some doubt about title deeds, if we've had it for more than 12 years, it becomes our space.
Okay, Councillor.
We can check the registry office in Gloucester.
We've probably got to take it there going to it, so I could.
So that's the way to go with that.
What land are we talking about here?
It's tiny.
Yeah.
Sorry, not that.
I don't.
It's not
That,
oh, yeah, it's
That is,
it's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one.
There's a big.
Yes, Councillor Walters.
No, I think we don't sell
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, there is a way that you can identify ownership rights. There's a facility available with Parish Online. It's actually a software tool that parishes can access,
Yeah.
and they can identify pieces of land, and you click on it, it then takes you through the land registry office, and you can then download the land registry documents and title plans, etc. of that. And it's quite a good facility. I'm sure the parish may already have that facility, but
Any documents we've downloaded with them directly.
okay, well, if you don't have Parish Online, it's certainly worthwhile considering.
So just to make everybody clear, I'm just saying, we don't know if we own that land, but if we do, we don't want to sell it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, I have a proposal, I do have a second there.
Yeah, I've seconded.
Yeah,
Councillor Elvin, everyone,
Please can we check?
yeah, I do,
Who owns it?
yes. I think it's. Right, next one. Next one is LMO 16/2025 Jubilee Field. And I think we turn to Councillor Parkinson to give us some.
Okay, and Lauren's happy that I could talk about this because obviously I do have an interest in it. Obviously, I want to thank Deputy John because he helped with this. He came round. I also want to check on as well, has work been already done to take back the verges around the field?
I don't know if anything's been done in that respect, because ultimately what we're looking at is coming to this meeting, agreeing what we're going to agree on, and then cracking with any.
All right, it's just that one. Okay, so just to give the context, Jubilee Field is the second ground which is used by Maidenhead Bray Sports Club for cricket, mainly the lower teams, 13, the 14, 15, 16, 17, and also the juniors. It is incredibly busy in the summer, and now getting very busy also in the winter, because we have schools, we have a youth football club, and we have an adult football club. And there is also it's used as a village green, dog walkers, etc. So there is an issue. There's two issues that have come to light. There's an issue about how it's used by the general public and how that interfaces with us using it as a sports ground. And there's also an issue, the fact that the maintenance of the actual central part of it is our responsibility, but the maintenance in terms of the surrounding trees and the shrubs does fall down to Bray Parish Council. And at the moment, what is happening is that the surrounding trees and the shrubs are causing issues with the playing sport. But you have to understand now with cricket particularly, the ball goes a lot further, the bats are bigger, people are stronger, and the balls are flying regularly into the woods. And these balls now are costing upwards of 30, 40 pounds. They're losing 3 or 4 balls a match because it's going into thick undergrowth, unkept trees, but they can't find it. It's also the fact as well that they're now going into undergrowth, they don't know what's in there. And what we've also discovered is what's hidden in this undergrowth, and John and I can see, is a lot of discarded material, which is hazardous. The bits of metal. There's also a very helpful person who's dumped a trampoline on there for some bizarre reason. And there was an example of one person going in there and cutting themselves quite badly on barbed wire. Now, John did a list of it. So one of the things I really want to do is to see if the council will actually green light a clear up in terms of discarding the trampoline and the items that John has photographed on here. The other thing I would like to say is that we would like to have certainly a big tidy up done in terms of the undergrowth. However, if you go there now, someone has gone there and done that. I don't know who has done that. That was just generally speaking, when there was someone who's done that. But again, it could do with a bit more revisiting. And also the trees that certainly bridge the causeway need looking at. They are just, some of them are old, they're a bit scrubby, they need to be able to cut back, or certainly a degree of husbandry. The final thing, which I would like to add to you, is there is an issue with dog walkers and feces. The vast majority of people are very responsible. Some of them aren't, and there's feces being left on the field, which is disgusting for the general public, but it's actually hazardous to people playing sport. The problem we have is that the bins, and it goes to Ken's point, are generally overflowing, and also people don't realise, generally speaking, that they can put dog feces in general bins, and the signs, although on the gate, the access to the actual field is not often via the gate, it's via another path which has been man-made to the side of it. So, in a sense, what I would like is to look at the signage that we have to see whether we can make it more obvious, to look at the man-made path, which is to the side of the entrance gate, to see whether we put signage there, and also whether we generally tidy it up. The other issue, I'm sorry to bang on about this because it's quite a big job, is the use of it as a cut through by cyclists. Mm-hmm. Cyclists go along that way and they see at the end, they see basically everything that slows them down. So what they do is they come over the bridge, they look and they see another little gateway, another man-made path into the Jubilee. They cut into that, they go down the side of the field and they cut through. Again, it's not acceptable, it's dangerous, it's not useful for cyclists. My proposal would be is that we somehow, whether it's by use of a gate or by some other obstacle, we look to cut off that access to the Jubilee field, which happens after the bridge, because that would stop people using it in that cut through way. So I suppose you need me to kind of give you an overview of what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is a general tidy up of the undergrowth, the taking away of hazardous materials such as the metal and the trampoline, and also a look at whether we can cut back the trees. I also would like to propose that we look at the way that the signage is displayed in terms of for dog feces. And interestingly, there is another item about bins on the causeway, which might feed into, I don't want to touch that, but also whether we feel that the way to stop the use of the Jubilee field as a cut through for cyclists is to put some kind of barrier or potentially a gate at the top end by the bridge. So that is a very long-winded overview, but as you see, it's a very, very busy piece of real estate. It's hugely important, not only to the sports club, but it's also really important to the community as well.
Any questions to council?
Is there some sort of sign up saying that this is, you know, belongs to Bray Cricket Club or something? Does it doesn't think it's a field?
No, there is it's a good point. There is a responsibility for us that we have to make sure it's still a community asset. We cannot say you can't walk on here, you can't have dogs on here. It's not our ground. It is essentially
it is a public.
It's a public place, and obviously, but it's used for sport at weekends.
Yeah,
so we have to occasionally we have people using it in an inappropriate fashion, which sometimes, you know, you have to go there and address them. There are people who Maidenhead Football Club or what are people who use it sometimes without permission. There are people who use it without permission. Generally speaking, the interaction between the community and the sports club is very good because we make it, we keep it very neat.
And I'm just thinking that, you know, the average bod coming out to this area for the weekend could picture tent or says what if you haven't got a sign saying this is.
Generally speaking, people don't, because generally speaking, sport is being played rapidly all the time during the weekend.
Yeah, I just wonder if you ought to have some sort of sign, but as you say, that's a bit difficult if you don't actually own it or something.
We've referred to cricket club nice to have. I think the way to do that is to look at the nice to have in conjunction with the lease and review it.
Just on point three.
Yep.
I don't wish to put a damp on it, but it's something that is a bit of a law at the moment. Between March and September, you cannot trim trees, cut back or anything because it's the bird nesting season and the penalties are quite severe if you're, and you know, that was, you know, unfortunately, you know, we ought to comply with the law and so therefore I'm just raising it.
Yes, absolutely.
The cricket season is already in full swing. The reality is the biggest issue for them is not necessarily the trees. That is a medium term thing to look at. The biggest issue is the undergrowth.
It's the clearing.
So to bring it back to Bray Parish Council, based on just this document, I am not entirely sure how am I to judge what is the responsibility of Bray Parish Council and what is the responsibility of the cricket club based on that document that was shared with.
Chairman, on page 2, page 2, so page 1
Oh, no.
shows you the actual law. Okay, it shows you the deed, shows you the deed, that's the deed, that's the document of agreement between the parish and the
But it's the same piece. So you say this is what Bray Parish Council responsibilities here.
Yeah.
And there is something, every contract has to have a name for both sides and, you know, and all the terms explain. This is what I have in front of me. And then here's the responsibility of the cricket club, and it's exactly the same piece.
It's different.
Well, it says exactly the same. It's literally word for word. Please say.
Councillor Owen.
Madam Chair, there might have to be something that's signed under the deed, okay? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So, if you I went through and I looked at the contract and what fits, basically looking at the area is the responsibility of the cricket club in terms of the method. And putting the law, we're responsible for the hedges, and siding like that. So things like the risings, that's the cricket club because that's grass teams. So therefore,
Okay, I understand, but I hope we all read the document.
Councillor Mead. So I would like to say, and I understand where you come from, Joanna, right? Rather than seeing extracts, I like to see the document.
Yeah.
So you read it in its whole context. If you're not happy to share it with all the councillors, I think you should share it with the chair. So Joanna.
I'm happy to share it.
Okay.
The documents sit in the office next door. I'm more than happy to print off a full copy of the documents so that you can read them through, digest them,
Yeah.
and come to some agreement. Because that was the premise of this document, to start that process off. To come to an agreement, who would pay, who is going to be responsible for what, who's accountable for what, come to an agreement, agree that essentially budget that we're happy to go 50-50 on. The simplest solution for much of this stuff is to get skipping and put a lot of that stuff in it. It's like.
So can I make a suggestion that you provide all the councillors a copy of that agreement so we can see it? And from that, we can actually make a decision of who is responsible for what and get quoted further to what, you know, from that, you can say, right, if we're responsible to that, we go out, get quotes in to do that, etc., etc.
I would suggest that we follow the good practice of providing the original documents and
Yes.
very welcome any brief on what does it actually say. Yes.
Mike, what's happened in the past about maintenance of this Jubilee field? This must have all come up over the years.
It's no, the maintenance of the Jubilee Field has purely simply been down to us making sure that it's playable.
Right.
And the environment has always been really kind of just looked after, like it seemed, by Bray Parish Council. What has happened, as in all areas it seems, is that husbandry of trees and bushes has kind of been
Yeah.
ignored. And now what we've got is essentially very overgrown and quite feral growth, which is just, it's not very pleasing. It's actually quite unpleasing aspect.
Mm.
And it is causing the problem. It does. So it's kind of, and as I say, I mean, you know, it's really is a case of establishing exactly who's responsible. From just a very specific point.
Yes.
And it is something that probably we should, actually I need to make, is that because of restructuring that happened under my watch about 3-5 years ago, the actual payment of the lease is done by Maitland and Bray Sports Club,
Yes.
which I am chairman.
Yes.
So really, the lease should be contracted to Maitland and Bray Sports Club
Yes.
because we are responsible for paying that,
All right.
not Maitland and Bray Cricket Club.
Okay. So I don't think anyone would like to defer this thing. So how can we solve it so we can see the document?
With
the document.
Yeah.
the councillors, and then I would suggest having a small committee who can then discuss things and work through the items. But then that would have to come back to the office for the office to say which, you know, if they agree with this, the legal requirements, etc. And the share of the councillors.
I tell you what the most concerning thing from my aspect is the metal and the trampoline.
Yes.
That's your responsibility. That's the cricket club's responsibility.
Is to remove,
Keep the place tidy in those respects, to cut the lawns and to keep those equipment.
but if someone, but the cricket club, so, I'm kind of arguing, I'm kind of going to ask it. If the sports club, for instance, did not put a trampoline on the pitch.
Hmm.
But so because we've had trampoline on the pitch, someone's been, you know, just very sort of silly. Therefore, you're saying that the sports club are therefore responsible to remove.
Essentially, as I understand it, that will do.
Well, I would need to, well, again, I can't need to anything. I mean, I feel that that's a bit unfair, so, but.
Just following what councillor Parkinson has just said. Now that we know that it should be Maidenhead and Bray Sports Club and not Maidenhead and Bray Cricket Club, there ought to be either a side letter drawn up by a professional solicitor.
Yeah.
To correct the lease.
Yeah.
Because if the lease is in the wrong name.
Yeah.
It needs to sort of comply with. Sorry to.
So then essentially what you could do at the same time is get the solicitors to decodify the old legalese, if you like, and turn it into language that we all understand, so everybody's clear about the demarcation on who's responsible for what. Yeah?
So can I just, yes, read what has to be? It's all formal, and we're all a bit wrong. So, one, we need the document.
Yeah.
Two, the immediate issues are the trampoline and the dangerous materials, because regardless of whether that's who that belongs to, we also have a duty as landlords to make sure that it's safe. So, I mean, is there a way that we can work with?
Yeah.
And do it as a team? I've got pickup, the worst comes worst, put it in the back of my pickup and take it down the tip.
It's a big trampoline.
It's a big trampoline.
It's a massive one. I mean, it's one of those ones you see that drive neighbours mad and kids.
I was about to put down. Well, I could do the smallest.
Legal landlord.
Could do the smallest, but I mean, let's have a couple of heads together on how we can do something together, because we have got contractors that help us as well as a parish, that I don't see why as a one-off to clear the dangers.
I'm perfectly happy to do that. It's just purely and simply, I don't want it to become from with a Maidenhead Bray Sports Club hat on.
Yeah.
I don't want it to become an established
No.
Okay, so do you
practice.
want to defer? Because from that document, I am not sure what the actual decision is to be made. Was that decision do we agree with all of this? I don't, this is not very clear to me what the actual proposal is.
There is, I mean,
What is it a lease? Is that what it is? A lease?
Yeah.
Well, just get that lease and you'll know.
Okay, so do we defer to the next meeting and we will see the lease?
Yes.
fine, yeah.
I mean, landlords usually say to the tenant, you're an acquired enjoyment.
Yeah.
And the tenant usually, does the maintenance work. So like, maintaining the
Let's see the document.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's defer to the next meeting and we will all see all the documents. It's always better to provide more documents than less.
Yeah, okay. I just want to add that I will follow up with Councillor Keane because I cannot counsel on having that stuff left.
Yes, fine.
From a sports playing perspective and from a general public safety perspective.
Is it usable or is it in bad condition?
It's usable, but it's just sitting there waiting for a child to go on there by himself, jump up and down and break their neck.
I mean, it's a thing you could donate to some.
No, so you couldn't donate it because it's not, because you can't donate it because you can't take responsibility. It needs to be got rid of.
Yeah.
It needs to be dismantled and got rid of.
Okay. So this comes in as well.
Let's have a chat about it.
Yeah, right, and please keep me in the loop, so
Yeah.
it's decided.
Yeah.
The proposal is to defer this decision until the next meeting until we have the full
Yeah, no problem.
information.
Yeah.
Is there a second there? Councillor Neem and everyone. Yes, there's everyone else mentioned. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is LMO 107, Welcome Trees in Bray Cemetery. So again, we were provided with 2 tickets and 1 sentence. And it says residents asking if we could remove or reduce the height of the trees, crown reduction bordering Bray Cemetery. And we are to welcome that.
What you've got is a situation where a tree is overhanging, the resident is entitled to trim back and drop any spoils back over to our side, which we're more than happy to do. But this is about, should we crown, should we reduce the height of the tree? Because obviously the resident is putting the top bit would we be happy to chop the top of the tree? Which is the sense of what it was meant.
Okay, councillor Hill.
Rather interesting question. I hope. My wife is very,
She is. You have a spot.
I have there. Yeah, interesting.
It's no to you, right? Your plot.
Oh, far away, Okay, so, because it's a public meeting, let me very, very clearly clear something up. Yes, they are entitled to cut our trees down, but they are not entitled to damage anything on our land. The correct way of doing is to contact the landowner and say, would you like me to dispose it in correct manner, or would you like to have the cuttings back? Please do not encourage anyone to dump anything on anyone's land.
So I take it this is conservation area.
Is it?
This is the church owner conversation,
I don't know to my.
it's not in the traditional complex.
Not really great.
No, it's not, it's not.
It's
in
part of the graveyard land of the FCO. So we're responsible for that tree.
Yeah.
People can't just chop trees down. We're responsible for that tree. The question is, do we reduce tree at our expense?
So, right, before I ask any question, what tree? Because I have one
Tall tree.
picture. And I have no idea what tree. Yes, please, councillor
So
Park.
the difficulty, it goes back again to that picture and the information we provided with the plan. Obviously, the picture shows a very mature and large tree. We would like to know why the person wants it cut back, what effect it's having upon their property, and indeed also to see it in context of the surrounding trees. Because again, we've got to be very careful. I mean, the desperation of our natural habitat in that area is extreme. And the last thing we want to start doing is to start adding to it by simply because in one picture, that looks quite overgrown, but is there a need?
Shall I read out the resident's email?
Is it part of this, like an avenue of trees? isn't it?
You just shared with all of us 5 minutes in advance.
Okay, so
I think so. It's
Yeah.
yet another communication that we sort of have to assume what are they asking for. If that is planning, and we have this A4 page, if that is planning, straightforward, so not enough of information. So there is also a survey we carried regarding trees. Do we know which trees exactly we're talking about?
That's a different thing.
That's a bit.
This is to do with the graveyard. Shall I read out the letter? Go on. Dear Esther, I'm interested in the proposal as my drive borders the right-hand side of this land, which means in the past, I have had problems with growth over my fence and undermining the stability of the fence. However, I have now renewed this fence and I have a gap at the end of the garden. At the end, my gardeners can keep the growth away from that fence so it does not pull it down. With this in mind, I think it should be left as a haven for wildlife and nesting birds to leave them undisturbed. There are fewer and fewer places for insects and snakes, particularly to thrive. And I actually see snakes and slow worms in the area. So that's part of the email. The proposal is from me and it's to leave the area on each side of the entrance of mangrove free for wildlife.
So just to be clear, there is no proposal coming from any member.
The person who neighbours the land sent an email in saying, could they trim off the bits that are going over to them, to which we said yes, and you're more than welcome to pass them over, which you're entitled to do. They were interested, the follow-up question is, should it be capped? Should the top of the tree? It doesn't say in that email, but that was part of the conversation.
So let's.
So what I did is I summarised it down to that piece. If you wanted more information and you wanted a specific tree picture, request that information. When you.
So let's defer the site plan till next.
yeah.
If you have more information, emails, on the paper available to all of us.
And where I say to a resident, regarding removing branches, yes, they can to a degree, but they can't harm the tree.
It's also.
There is clear that even though it's overhanging, you can remove them. And this is not the time of the year.
So the immediate question was about, is any of those trees TPO'd? We don't know. Should we don't know. So, the proposal is to defer until next meeting until we have all the information provided. Do you have it?
Yes.
Councillor
Yeah.
Leo Walters and everyone deferring until the next meeting. Thank you.
And we need to confirm exactly what the tree is, where it is.
Yes,
It's
a TPO.
The species of it.
yeah.
Why isn't it on our tree survey?
Oh, also, do we agree for people to dump stuff over the fence to our land? It's
I am quite concerned that we've got trees in the graveyard where people go in and it's not part of our tree survey.
Yes.
If we are responsible for them, it should be part of the tree survey.
Yes.
It probably is, let me look into it.
Okay. So LMO 18/2025, panel of parking issues, and again, 1 So yes, councillor, very fortunate, councillor Lee, councillor.
Okay, just on this, there was a group of residents that attended the annual electors meeting
Yes.
that we had. I thought they might have come along tonight. But they're concerned about the number of cars that are parking in Panmure Road, which is obviously causing a great deal of concern to the local residents, because the local residents, when they come home to actually park their vehicle, they cannot physically park in Panmure Road. What was proposed at the annual elect meeting was either to have a barrier across, which could either swing open to allow vehicles to come in and then swing back again, so that after they've parked, it doesn't allow other residents to park. I'm sure Councillor Needham will actually make a similar comment, but I know it's of concern to those residents.
Yeah, and to be very clear, that's Bray Parish Council land. That is, it says on it, if you go on the green, it says private road, residents only. It's part of the red. And if you look at our title deeds, it's on land.
This is the shot of the title deeds. I've asked the borough, asked per this document, could they get greater clarity on that red line? If you look at the borough website, it clearly says it's unadopted highway.
Okay, John, I don't want to
Go to the chair, otherwise it's
yeah,
going to be
I don't want to have it is Bray Parish land, and as long as I've lived there, and I'm sure Leo would say, you know, the land, the drive, the land, the road in front of Panmure Road, that's Bray Parish land, isn't it?
Excellent.
So.
It's got a good business.
Yes. Yes, I know.
So the issue is obviously with, and it's like with anything, all these areas of entertainment doing different things to attract business. And unfortunately, where we missed that license, that has encouraged that, which has encouraged all the additional parking by Panmure Road. But it very clearly says on there it's a private road, it's Bray Parish Council, we've always maintained it. Always maintained it, I've been a parish councillor, we've always maintained it. So as to what we do with it.
Councillor Barnes.
Given the, it's difficult to say, but given the idea that it's increasing parking to do with the increase in the offering from nearby George and the Green. Is this a situation where we could possibly contact licensing to say that, you know, the result of the license is that there is now a public nuisance being caused by customers parking in a private road? I mean, I know that's difficult, I know we have to prove it, but again, I mean, it's, you know, this is the spin-off from granting a license.
I personally think it's worth a try.
Okay, John.
So,
with any of this, in terms of managing the land, if we want to have wardens that attend the land and issue tickets, then we'd have to do that through a private contractor. That would cost us something like £45 an hour if we want to ticket people for doing it. There's a notice on the land that says this is private area. There are question marks about which bits of the land, this red line is the boundary line of the green. So there are question marks about which bit we actually own. We own this bottom corner, the turnaround piece. There's a question mark about that centre. I've asked the borough to give us later.
Okay, so councillor Williams.
This is just an old chestnut, I'm afraid. It's been going on for years. Is it all that bad? I don't know.
Because what,
Together with the fact that I try and keep the cars off the green. That's the order there. But that's also the fence they've done. And I just phone up and the bloke in the pipe and say, look, please. That's usually work. But, you know, you've got to have a good fucking, you don't be like.
I 100%, you've got a good pub in the village, and a good pub in the village means it's a good neighbourly pub.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, it is their responsibility as well. I mean, we, just taking back to a similar position that happened at the Fisheries Estate, we had a school which was built across the road, and we had real serious issues with people parking illegally, not illegally, because again, the Fisheries Estate is a series of unadopted roads. But of course, you know, we had an issue. So rather than go down the route of the warden, what we attempted to do was put up signage, polite signage, saying things. And, you know, I know it's important to establish who owns what, but in the end, it is also about the fact that we are trying to make the residents in that road not have to suffer the inconvenience.
Yes.
And if we can do anything to try and convince them that it shouldn't park there, would be helpful.
Do you think it's worth, I think when the whole issue regarding recently about the village, there was a discussion about going to meet the landlord.
Yes.
Do you think it's worthwhile doing that?
I think it is worthwhile doing it from the point for this perspective of it being better to talk to them as Leo has said, as well said, on a human level, than it is to start going down the route of, well, I'm going to report you to, you know, whatever. So yes, I do think it's worth doing it because, you know, no, we don't want to step on someone's business, but we have to be cognizant that that has repercussions.
You got that side bar there, isn't
Yes, he has, and he's the current landlord is a very, very good businessman.
Yeah.
And he knows how to run pubs, but he knows how to run pubs in areas that can take large amounts of people.
You know,
I do know him very well, and he's a very, but the problem is that this is kind of now not at just that capacity, it's over capacity. And that's the problem.
councillor Jackie.
I was only going to say, I don't think we want to go down the route of putting in some sort of barrier that goes up and down. That would be quite a lot of extra expense, wouldn't it? Maintenance, et cetera, unless it's a very big problem. I would think, as Mike said, I think it's the landlord's duty to try and sort it a bit, make sure the notices are very clear. I
So,
don't think we could do much more.
so is the proposal to put signage up and
he bought Jeff Hayes' house, didn't he? Jeff Hayes, he bought his house.
Yeah.
okay, so what is the actual proposal from
I'll
us?
go and talk to him. I'll go and talk to him. I don't know, I've never seen him.
John Sennett. Yeah.
I'll just pop another.
Fine, and if you're, but secondly, I think that the difficulty with that is we need to sort of formalise it in a way, because we need to kind of know what,
Yes.
you know, if we're going to, you know, I don't want to have an official meeting, but I think we do need to be careful, because I don't want it to be, to blow back on someone going there in an informal way, and suddenly it becomes as if we've said something on behalf of the parish. I think if we want to have a meeting, I think we should agree that we should do it, who should attend it.
Yeah, we've done in the past, one just, I could go across, we have a lot of problems travelling, but I go across, over the chaps who do that, a few players.
Sure.
One would have here or that stuff, and if you don't mind, and that's the best.
Sure, and Lee, I did that, I can't stop you doing that, you're quite right not to, I suppose to a certain extent, it just has to be formalised.
Do we want like official meeting
from Bray Parish Council, do we want to spend, I think, there has been a lot of things going on around the job recently. I'm sure those people, obviously don't want to go into too much detail here.
Yes.
It is a business to go out, I apologise, and least try and work with. I think it would just be on a friendly basis to go and speak to him, just remind him, because we've got a lease of what they can use at the front. Reminds that probably needs to be updated because there's a new landlord now. Might be a way to just meet him, say the lease has changed, we need it in your name, and while we're here, just be very clear, if you want to park in the green, you need to hire it, and regarding parking, you need to just park in, you can do it in that way, in a meeting that covers all of it, and make it less aggressive.
Okay, how do we want to go around this meeting? Do we want to, who would like to go to that meeting? So we can delegate, so they can actually represent this community.
Yeah, we moved this there, all the canopy, remember all that? The club, remember, you know,
Yeah, the umbrella,
yeah, yeah, it's all died by the end. But
yes.
we tried to go mad, that's why we moved.
Well, yeah, okay, so I'm just coming back to the meeting.
I'm happy to go with Mike.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with it.
I'm happy to go with Mike.
As long as the committee knows,
You've got. So,
as long as the committee knows that I do know Johnson.
okay, can I go with you?
But that might be better.
Yes, it might be a friendly.
Right, I'm also. So there is a proposal to arrange the meeting
Yes,
and explain the rules and be polite, and just start a conversation. And that meeting will be attended by councillor Parkinson, by councillor Neil and me. And we need to vote on that because this is a delegation from.
can I also add that the lease for them using the front is updated, ready for that meeting?
Okay, so and after the meeting, we'll contact the office to give the full update, what was discussed.
Suggest that if you want the document dated, you ask the office to do that first, because you're going to.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
That's
that's what I just said. Yeah.
And then after the meeting, we'll find out, say what was discussed and what are the conclusions
Yes,
of
and then-
that meeting.
Yes,
Right, councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The main point, going back just right at the beginning, the residents from Hamley Road attended the annual electors meeting that we had. And they were quite vociferous about the amount of parking going on outside of their property so that they couldn't park when they returned home.
Yes.
That's the main thrust of this.
Yeah.
So may I suggest?
No, I agree.
Delegate 3 people to attend that
Yes,
meeting.
okay.
We will report back. And also everyone is invited to submit questions and suggestions before the meeting, so we can include that in the meeting. So who's proposing that?
Yeah.
Councillor Wilson, who's seconding? I will second. Okay, councillor Mead.
Yeah.
And everyone.
Yeah.
For the proposal to send, okay. So abstain.
I just very, very quickly,
Yes.
before we go, I actually want those 3 is too many. It's a
You
bit.
don't want to make it a delegation.
Okay.
Yes. So let's discuss beforehand.
We'll
Just to
discuss,
make
okay.
sure, but in principle,
Okay. Okay. Next one, LNO 19/2025 Gaze Lane. Report on vandalism, forces accessing recreational ground, and we have 801 page of pictures and
And I'll just,
3 sentences.
can I suggest that, as I said before, if you'd like more information about things, when you get papers, you look at them and you ask for more information instead of holding it up. Right, so there has been horses coming onto the grid, where from, who knows, they've just come on there, we're obviously going to force people. The lock on the gate was damaged during the fair, or before the fair, in fact. There's somebody who's got suitable on the padlock and it's on the combination lock. So that's been changed now for a lockable lock. Stevie's having the key, the football field, both here and we here in the office. Should there, you know, the recommendation would be to have a fenced off area for all these bits of equipment, rather like I suggested for Jubilee Field and the.
Any comments, any questions from the members? Yeah, I'd actually brought something with me, because when this lock was replaced, and I need help from councillors from Holycourt to explain the details of that. Residents are now complaining that they are not able to drive into that field, my understanding is, they are not able to access that field. And they somehow used it in the past with conjunction to our allotments. Is this
Yes,
correct?
yes, because you go through that field to get to the allotment.
There is a conversation online, it's quite damning to us. So I did clear that yes, the office is still available and working and we are all still here. Because, and I promised to bring it up to everyone for attention that the law was changed, they don't have an access they used to have.
Should there?
Wow.
Yes, there was a
Combination lock, that's what it is. So that you have to go through that field to get to the allotments. So if you've got a load of compost, for example, in the back of your car, you can't expect them to, at that gate, which is quite away, to not drive their car over.
There is the other path down the back. The first time I went to that allotment, I went down the back path from the car park. In your step, so on the
It's full of all.
Compost, with
Yeah.
compost.
okay. All right, that clears my,
So that's what I'm thinking, as a gardener myself,
yes.
I would say, even with a wheelbarrow.
Is
There's
that-
quite
there's
distance.
quite a distance.
Is there not a gate on Gaze Lane into the allotment? You want to drop?
I think
I mean,
there's,
I don't know, but clearly people are used to driving there to access the allotment and they cannot access the allotment from after the fair. So, and they are complaining. Yes, councillor.
Sorry, Madam Chairman. As you go through that metal gate,
Yes.
when they used to get access, there is hard standing. And there is actually a couple of containers there and things
Yeah.
like that. Because a lot of people used to drive in there and park up or whatever and then walk across. But if you've got a trailer, we created another access onto Gaze Lane allotments in order for them to clear up their
That
box.
successful at the moment. Did I hear that there was issues around in terms of it's not easily accessible?
Well,
Conversation quite happening.
one has got a combination lock on the Gaze Lane side. And then we also put two further gates in for more heavier lorry types to take away some of the compost that are built up and do that site
Right,
clearing.
it's hard to put the bottom there.
Yeah. But I mean, you do need to have access because
Okay.
it is quite distance.
We all agree they need to have this access. Okay.
it's weird, so after the fair, so they obviously locked it after the fair.
Right. Before it was a combination locked, so everybody's dog has got this number, they could access it.
So
But now a padlock.
Someone changed it.
The fair thing, people who were fair, because they had to, because it was damaged. So they couldn't open the gate for the car parking. They had to get a locksmith in,
Yeah.
who chopped it,
Yeah.
changed the lock and put on a key lock.
Okay, so they also gave the office a spare key though.
We have got.
Yes, don't you need to get some keys cut and?
No, you can't get 100 keys.
So the best solution would be to revert to combination law.
Yeah.
And allow residents to have the code.
Check that.
So change it back, don't propose it, change it back to the
Yes.
previous combination law, make each second there so people can access their allotments.
Yeah.
Councillor,
Yes, yeah.
everyone,
Yeah. Okay.
holding that proposal. Yes, that's everyone. Now, there seems to be another issue that this paper was trying to address, the man that is horses accessing recreation plan.
Yeah, so the horses have got in, should we put some special barriers in that gateway to prevent horses coming through? And And
Someone actually complained, but how do we know they're horses?
yeah, we had, obviously there must be some report came in about horses.
Oh, so you don't have,
This is
I
horses
certainly
with,
have an email.
this is horses with riders, is it? This is
Yes.
not horses
Two
wandering around.
two riders
Right,
riding around on the field, accessed it however they accessed it. They might have come through the main gate. Oh, who knows? where they came
no, okay.
logically, if they came through one of the side entrances that are onto the Gaze Lane side of things.
But the reality is, is that a regular thing? Is it a one-off? Is it a? Okay, yeah, just monitor it.
we'll monitor it.
Should we get the football people to put on a fence?
Who are the football people?
If it's on the report.
Volleyball. So what they have complained about, any damage to the pitch from the horses, in theory. So
I haven't heard anything from them about that.
I personally,
Their equipment was damaged by the animals when they pushed them away. Really nearly across the park. It's deliverable since
I think-
damage.
I think I think they need, unfortunately, that.
Yeah, I mean,
We can do
fenced up area, to be honest with you, we've got goalposts, John, you've seen that
Yeah.
on the Jubilees field. We had a problem with that. They solved it very much so by chaining them both together in a position where you couldn't move them. So I think in the end,
It's a shame they got through that.
sure. So, but in the end, I think a fenced up area, it's not going to stop people if I think they just need to be cognizant of it.
So suggestion is that's what you've done and suggest they do that.
I mean, you know, in the end, you can't stop people being idiots.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we,
Just about sums it up.
okay, so,
That's not a proposal.
okay,
Let's vote on that.
it's not some people from like that.
So the proposal is to change the combination lot ASAP, to give just some friendly advice as to what.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bray Club's done regarding goalposts, suggestion,
Yes,
lock them.
They already did that before they locked them.
Okay, well then we can't do anything, so it's locked.
Probably about-
Yeah.
right.
Oh. Okay. So that's a proposal to change the combination lot. Do we need to
Oh,
vote?
we voted on that. We voted in combination law, can I just? There's anything else to vote on? Okay, so LNO 2025 biodiversity policy. I hope everyone enjoyed reading this one. So is this what, I think the action from this point on the agenda is again to consider the report, requirements and responsibilities. We are not adopting this policy.
It's already been adopted, hasn't it? Wasn't it adopted at,
Okay, it doesn't say, usually it says like the bottom of when.
well, that's what estimates do, but
Okay, all right, so any questions, any thoughts, anything you'd like to raise, councillor Parkinson?
Sorry, just correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not suggest that a lot of these policies were going to be looked at by a subcommittee?
Yeah, we did.
So,
Shall we defer as a policy?
yeah, policy, yeah.
Unless there is something specific on this point that you think we should talk, because I don't, was it
the
just?
council has a legal responsibility to do something about biodiversity and not just have something static sitting around. So if
Okay.
you're proposing to, once Derek's putting forward his idea to have a committee to do things, and then people enjoying that, and then this may be part of that, but it's not about having a policy per se, it's about doing things. It's about
Yes.
coming with ideas, rather like I mentioned in the actual document about the woodland, having little wood banks for the critters to run around in, that sort of thing. That adds to the biodiversity. The borough has a responsibility to increase it by 30% and then development and things like that. And when I was talking to the guys about the wheel in Alexander Gardens, the biodiversity increase of 30% was matched by them installing 4 bird boxes. So it's getting into that cycle of the new rhythm of things that we've got to be seen to be doing things around this. We can't just have a paper sitting there.
I agree.
Devils.
What I was going to say, Madam Chairman, this is quite a key policy,
Yes,
and it's one that most parishes
Yeah.
have adopted because, you know, it's very much focusing on this sort of discussion. So we look forward to seeing it at a proper future.
It's been adopted.
Okay.
Okay, right,
it's okay. So
anyway, done.
done. Okay, so my question is, this policy says that we note what actions we have already been taken to conserve and enhance biodiversity. Are we tracking any actions?
The office is waiting on instruction based on this of what to do, I would suggest.
Is that that we have to start tracking all the actions, as it says, not start noting what actions are we already taking to conserve and enhance biodiversity. And I'm proposing to do it via a spreadsheet of all the actions and projects they were related to, and what did we actually actively do to enhance biodiversity. So this is my proposal. I have a second there.
Okay.
And everyone agreeing, voting for that proposal.
No, I'm not quite sure what we're voting for, it's pretty vague.
So what do we want
To consider the report requirements and responsibilities. So it's to read this document, understand it and go, right, our responsibilities are to do this is what we should do moving forward. If what you want to do is push it to the next meeting, state.
to push it to the next meeting? It was adopted. It says that we have to complete the first consideration of what action to take for biodiversity, but by 1st of January 2024. We didn't seem to do that. So it also says that we have to start tracking our actions. So I am proposing that we do.
Yeah.
We have to start tracking our actions.
Yeah, and we've,
What does that mean?
Yeah.
so basically, we've got Jubilee Fields.
Yes.
So I can explain what does it mean for everyone who doesn't read that. So every committee of this parish and our main council, we have to consider if the actions we are deciding on, it's actually in line with protecting and enhancing biodiversity. That applies to every single planning, every single decision.
Yeah.
So when we do, we have to put this down to say we did here, consider biodiversity.
Yeah.
And this is what we did to protect it and enhance it.
Yes,
Yes,
so,
Yeah.
for example.
Yes, and the decision about
Yes.
deferring the crown of that tree
Yes,
is an example.
yes.
yes.
This is, I hope, so there are other actions we can take from this, but this is the first one, the most basic one to understand are we actually doing anything about biodiversity. We keep track of what we do.
And I suppose, sorry, Madam Chairman, I suppose going forward, that if any proposals are made, you need to refer to
Yeah.
that to say
Yes,
the biodiversity within this is.
yes,
This is what we are doing now on the road.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. So I do have a proposal and I want to vote on that. I do want to start. It might be like in planning, like we do have this one task list. We do need to start tracking our actions in that context of biodiversity.
I totally agree.
So let's start.
Yes, tracking them.
tracking.
So can you tell me, let's be super clear on what you're actually saying. So you're saying that for every agenda item, we need to have a biodiversity element. We need to state all that before we vote. Well, this is why, this is what we have to get down to. What are we covering? We need to be clear on what.
It's mainly planning.
So, all right, so this document actually explains what does it cover. It says planning applications, it said options, planning applications. The council will, when commenting on planning applications, I really support reading documents. So then it says land and property management, and it lists
Yes.
what actions actually do we have to, and then it says the council will, and it refers to the full council. And then it says partners. And then it actually says, when picking up the right contractors, we do need to take care that they do have sustainable practices. So we no longer can just look at the price. We do have to take into account how are they going to manage our land. Is it sustainable agricultural chemicals, we have to start
The type of.
type of chemicals, is this sustainable and handling with biodiversity?
Yeah.
So when we do the right thing and we do consider, like today, we said, we do not understand how this is in, the crowding of the trees. Like you said, oh, we develop something because it's the best in season. We do have to start keeping track of what are we doing. Yeah, I think the So this document actually, and it also explains monitoring just right, and it says, and just to show you, this says location and details, and it proposes that we start creating a list of our sustainable decisions. So I'm not proposing anything.
Okay, so who should the responsibility of this fall to in the office? Because if this is the office, well, if you're voting on something that the office should do, who should do it in the office, and what hours should be committed to doing this?
So-
This, what you just said there, that sounds like a very time consuming.
Good question. So I'm happy to meet with the local clerk and discuss with her who should cover it, because if we clearly adopted this policy already and we have not done anything about it, I do agree we cannot have this policy just laying around. And we will just look at it and say, yes, we consider.
That makes
Chancellor Woods.
All I'm saying, Madam Chairman, is if you're looking at planning as an obvious one, just for instance, at the time that we debate
Yes,
and make a recommendation, it is at that time
yes.
we can say, is there a biodiversity next game or not? And then,
you establish that.
well, I mean, you
So-
can establish it whether,
It actually says here,
Tree usually
Yeah.
comes with,
Yeah.
so it is a prerequisite, as Leo said, that RBWM already drives this, that any developer has to provide with their application biodiversity report, so impacted trees, etc., etc. So when we come to look at planning, that information should already be there.
yes. Yes,
So are we saying that if they don't have the biodiversity report, then we immediately refuse it?
we're not saying that. This policy doesn't say that.
No, because
All depends what it is.
not every single planning will have a garden. I mean, if someone's just infilling,
Yes, and the answer.
This is the attention of the detail, isn't it? Ultimately, so I think the concept of you having to sit down with the clerk and talking through how she may well have applied these historically in terms of this type of document and how that works through would be a good start.
My proposal is to create that, and then I'm glad you will sit with the clerk and decide who's going to maintain that list and
Yeah.
how are we going to update it and how we make it available.
well, we will have to suck it and see.
Absolutely have to do it. So,
Yes, so therefore, also the land and property management is a big thing.
yes, so yes.
So planning applications, which you
So planning committee
is the deputy clerk works with. So all we will be doing is when we come to making a recommendation, we all need to make sure as planning officers and as presenting councillors, we include a biodiversity statement. And then all that needs to be doing is added to the main list.
Yes.
And if needed, I don't think it's even needed because RBWM are already doing it. I mean, or we refer to it. I think we need to a little bit try it and see
Yes.
now that we know. I don't think we need to create land management. I think it's totally different because we've got a lot of land and I think that
And we
needs.
do have to make a lot of decisions.
Yes, and I think that is really important. But planning, anything big will have a biodiversity report
Yes.
for RBWM. So I think it's already done. So actually the work is already done.
Okay,
Don't you think, Leo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. I would like to vote on that. Do we need a list? Do we need to start a list? We can start small from land management, but we need to start.
Let's take it from what is minted at a particular meeting. The obvious is planning and the obvious is each presented councillor, as Councillor Neal has already stated, will
Yes.
state in their presentation whether there is a net gain or not.
Right. This is planning specifically.
Well, I'm just saying
Yeah,
that it's an obvious.
development, how will we make note of what actions we are we already taking to conserve and enhance biodiversity? This is the baseline. How do we know that we just did?
We've got to start from somewhere.
Yes.
And let's try it first and see. We don't really want to create huge amounts of work in the office, but there must be a way that we can just say, right, this particular scheme is doing this amount of development.
Okay.
It's going to create a reduction in the amount of vegetation or whatever. And as a result of that, we feel that there is a loss.
So would we like to?
Madam Chairman, I suggest you have a word with the Royal Borough who are doing it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Okay?
Clarify a few
I
things.
speak to planning, so.
Alicia there, sorry.
Yes, okay, so but yeah, I'll speak to one of them and just ask them how they're doing it, planning, so that we follow what they're doing.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We're not trying to create additional work.
No,
That's not the
But we
idea.
need to react, we need to act on this policy. Okay,
So hang on, we need to vote on something. So what I've got at the moment is that councillor Nee will talk to planning about how they do things.
we don't need to vote on anything according to the.
Well, there's no little hands up here, but if you want to, me to minute something, then I would suggest that the minutes say that councillor Nee is going to talk to planning, evaluate that side of things. From a land management point of view, you're going to create a list of,
No, I'm going to talk to Clark,
right? You know,
like, how are you?
and then come up with a list. So the
I am not creating a list. That is up to the office.
May I suggest with one more thing? We don't want to double up, do we? So-
Yes, we don't. So
Yes, so you do it.
let me talk to the clerk,
Yes.
see how we can do
You only
it.
make recommendations.
But we will do something, that we can at least try.
so planning, that I'll speak to Claire and just ask her. It's just really
Yes.
the land and property management is the one
Okay.
really that we're not sure. So if Joanna speaks to the
Yes,
clerk
Yeah.
and asks about the best way to do that, the easiest way, and we'll go from there.
Okay,
Right, let's move on.
so let's move on. So LMO 2025 Causeway Bay, we'll come back to the call. And there is a background and there is a description of what happened. Does everyone understand what's going on without maybe naming persons? Okay, so, my understanding is do we already start fighting that or where are we now?
The rat man has been, I think, 3 times now. The recommendation, I think, is to purchase a couple of bins like this,
Yeah.
have a lid.
Yeah.
So the rats can't open it, not, yeah,
Right, I propose, yeah.
nothing. So the bottom line is 2 bins and installation is going to be around about £1,500.
1,500 pounds, does it need to go back and how many calls?
Is that comparative to the Hollywood ones?
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
that.
so I think it's slightly.
It was less.
It was a lot.
It was less, it was less than that, so.
Yeah.
Councillor Parkinson,
There is a bin on the Jubilee field,
yes,
which gets absolutely rammed full of, because unfortunately, sportsmen go over there, take food over there, take
Yes.
drinks over there, and they cram it, and that is not rat proof at all, and that overflows a lot.
okay, that's,
So I don't know whether we need to consider 3 bins rather than 2 bins.
so we need 3 bins.
But I would just like to add as well, the capacity of that bin
Yes.
for Jubilee.
And wherever one is between 3,000 and 100 pounds, we need to see 3 quotes to be able to.
Yeah.
Or could we request that they include a little more often? This is RDBWM, isn't it?
With something like. is
Is there a set time, once a month they do it, or, I mean, they are always full, bins everywhere, for every party.
I have to say, the ones in the group aren't good, aren't they? They empty them on the Monday morning. Okay.
I think they're pretty good for the
Right,
breakfast.
so I need to, sorry, consider,
Sorry, Madam Chair, we should get 3 points anyway.
we should get
That's
3
standard.
quotes
Okay,
to consider.
yes, yes.
So in principle, I think we all agree, we should install different bins. Now, let's see 3 different quotes.
Are we looking at 3 bins, 2 bins?
I would suggest 3 bins, so we need to vote on that, so we make sure that we're replacing 3 bins, not 2 bins.
Yeah, because there isn't a picture of that other bin, but it is on Jubilee Field and it is a blue.
Can you write to the office and make sure this is in writing, that there is a 3rd bin and this is what we're talking about?
Yes, very, very quickly, I think also we need to ascertain who empties them
Yes,
and how frequent.
so,
If
okay,
we empty them, we need to do them more often, obviously.
yes,
If I'm WMs, then we need to raise it with them as a reporter.
yes. Unfortunately, those rats have been found around the village recently, so, and I think gardens. So that's not very easy. Let's think about it. Technically, what we're doing, what we're saying here now is that we actually deferring into another item until we see 3 quotes.
Yeah.
So we're deferring until we see 3 quotes.
Yeah, okay.
As per financial.
So, I mean, well, yes. The reality is the bins, so the quote that came in from the organisation who provided us with bins for what we call green was 440 the bin, £20 for the ballast and 79 carriage.
Okay,
So that's, 500-ish, 500.
where's that from?
That was emailed to me this afternoon. It's on the back of my list.
Okay, so
I'll send you a copy.
I,
The installation by which a crucifix to install the other bins would come in at around about £200 a bin, because you need to create a new base.
okay,
If we're looking at 3 bins, then obviously we're looking at more money. Now, do you want, the question here has to be, do you use an installer we know as in terms of
No.
Richard? Let me just say what I need to say. We have an installer. We have a contract with a bin organisation we bought bins for in the past. If we leave this 3 months, is the rat issue going to be much more of a problem? That is the issue. That is what you need to consider.
so I'm going back to financial regulations, and we are on page 16 of those, and it very clearly specifies that if there is a contract between 3,000 and £100, we do need to actually see 3 quotes. We cannot prove anything because someone said something is, you cannot do it.
So can I suggest a standard approach?
Yes, please.
That we need 3 in total.
Yes.
We do, so we know how much the 2 on Hollyford Green cost. Let's do 2, and then 1 later on in the year. Because then we don't need, we've got the quotes already because we know how much the Hollyford Green cost.
The average one.
Are they totally different? Because they look the same to me.
They have a
You've got a lid, so the rats start climbing and take stuff out.
Do they have a concrete base?
The basic will create by which a crucifix, so my question to you would then be, if you're considering, if you're looking at this in the whole, as the whole cost, say £1,500 is a ballpark, the bins are one aspect of the cost, the work's done by our resident, our contractor that does an awful lot of work for us is £175. That work could be commissioned by the clerk anyway. But are you happy for an existing contractor to do the contract work? Are you happy just to worry about the business side of things and the purchase of the business? What would be your?
So I again have an A4 page with 2 pictures and actually more than 2 sentences on it. I don't know what I want because I do not understand what is the actual, and
No,
we need more
Can I ask you a question
detailed
again?
information so we can
Right.
vote and not guess, estimate and assume.
No,
I'm happy as a chairman of land management, I am actually allowed to call extraordinary meeting closer to, within those 3 months to discuss all the things we had to defer today. It's possible. If we have the right correct information provided, we can then have an extraordinary meeting and vote on those things. They do not have to wait 3 months. What we do have to have is a quote.
Yeah.
We are,
So,
What I'm
yes,
happy to-
that we actually have hit with, so we need a quote.
we need,
Yeah.
as per our financial regulations.
Yes. So we need those quotes. Let's get those in, that is the priority.
So we are deferring decision until meeting, maybe extraordinary meeting then, because we don't want that money in the village. And let's have 3 quotes. Yes,
So do
that's,
you want 3 quotes for the bins, or do you want 3 quotes from contractors to create a concrete bay green one?
Quotes, the bins.
3 quotes for the bids only.
yes.
The contractor to do the base or whatever will be discussed at the appropriate time when we decide.
Yes,
Time
okay.
of bids.
And we actually have them.
And are we considering 3 bins?
Yes.
Yes.
3 bids.
We are.
No, I only say, no, because there is another bin there which is literally on Jubilee Pitch. Literally only about 10 metres to me.
Let's do it as one gig. Sorry, can I Walters?
Yeah, 3 bids,
Yeah, we have, there are 2 bins in the picture and 1
very
bin.
clear out, those concrete things, do we really need those? We never had.
You need a base if you want it to go.
Okay.
Because if it's not stable, it gets pushed over by the rats and it goes everywhere. You need a proper base.
All right.
Okay, let's move on. Next on the agenda is LNO 22, 2020.
So we need a vote. We got everybody stayed about it.
Okay.
And a vote.
Deferring the item until the next meeting, maybe extraordinary meeting. We,
No, you took 3 quotes, that's what we're voting. When we do
3 quotes.
3 quotes, Derek's,
Bring them in. No whipping.
all in favour? You? There is
okay. Item LNO 22, 2025 review budget, we have 0 points.
We had 0 votes for that because Esther didn't supply that before she left. We didn't have time to do it. She left rather hurriedly. So that will come next time.
So reviewing the budget every quarter is not going to be nice. Yeah,
Is there any way that they could be sent outside of the meeting for us?
yes,
The press story, of course there is. Yes, I'll ask the clerk what we can actually share, but fundamentally, we have a budget sheet which basically says that last year 99,000 was spent, budget for next year is 120,000 across land management. That's across all the contractors doing all the works that we expect to happen, which is a list of about 50 or 60 items. So, yeah, I'll check all of that.
That's.
If we could just share that,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
fantastic. So that's going to be shared as soon as possible.
I'll speak to the clerk and ask.
I'll speak to you. All right, so LNO 23, 2025 allotment competition. 2 councillors are welcome to put themselves forward to judge the allotments, one in Holyport and one in Bray. And this has been done before.
You're right. Good girl.
I've done it before, but I don't mind.
Who would like to judge the allotment competition?
Do we have a date for this person, do we?
No, we need to provide states.
We have the one
That's last year.
last year.
I've done it before, so I don't mind doing it now.
And I've done it before, but I would just like,
Right.
I just would like to do it at a weekend when
Yes,
it's more
thank you.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we've got, we took the initiative and we asked the guys from the Holyport Village Show if they would like to join in and be one of the judges. So like you say, we can have separate judges for Holyport and one for Bray, but then have, so if you don't want to include them, you don't need to, but they have offered to be part of the judging team.
That's what I meant.
All right, I thought so.
Right, so we still have 2 councillors, one from Holyport, one from. Who from Holyport? For a change, okay.
Yeah, because I think Margaret's done it in the past.
Yes, 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 yeah.
And I guess-
We did 3 years ago with Margaret, and we did, we
Yes,
did
yeah.
Bray first, then we did Holyport
Yeah.
after, and Margaret knew what she was doing, was,
Yeah.
I just,
Okay.
big time thing, but she was pretty good at that.
So
Which is nice to see them actually.
So councillor Mead and councillor Wilson,
doing
together,
both.
We'll
they,
do
they,
them
both
together.
with proposals.
They like to do the weekend, I think.
But all we would need is a plan, the plots, what numbers they are,
Yeah,
and so that we can.
Yeah.
Consider,
For one evening, now it's lots of
yes.
So now I understand that there's a third person coming to the office.
And they'll have to go on their own. Oh, I think we will just coordinate between us and they can go.
Okay, she says we need to vote on that and a date.
So is that what you're suggesting? That somebody who's judging that you two are going to go together, so you're going to ask them to just go and do it by themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, with a separate set of thought processes rather than doing it together. Okay? What date would you like this to happen on? Since the last one was on the 15th of July, can you please choose a date?
I need to check my diary and I'm sure Derek has as well, so we'll confirm that.
Yes.
Okay,
We'll have to confirm it because obviously we've got the commitment, so.
all right, so we delegated this
Yes.
judgment to two councillors.
What we would do.
I will close it. Do I have a second there to councillor Mead and everyone in favour of sending two councillors to judge? Thank you.
Dates be confirmed.
Now we are moving into confidential session, so I am moving that under section 1, 2 of the public policy, admission of meetings. The public shall be excluded from the remainder of the meeting by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. Thank you for coming.
So it's just one.